What's wrong?
I am the chief pilot of Axis X Corporation, and we are scheduled to fly to a really marginalized part of the world this week. I'm just not sure we have done enough to prepare for the security of the trip.
So? What are you going to do?
That's the problem. I have never had to deal with this before, so I don't know how to begin.
Have you tried using PRIFISE?
PRIFISE? What is that?
Well, PRIFISE, or P-R-I-F-I-S-E, is an acronym that lays out an aviation security plan. It is based on ICAO Annex 17, concerning aviation acts of unlawful interference.
Well, it seems like this could be helpful. The first letter stands for plan. What does it mean?
Plan means that a well-thought-out procedure has been developed. The objective is clearly defined. Even with a plan, there should still be room for the operation to adapt or evolve as needed, so the plan should be dynamic. Finally, personnel involved need to be briefed.
Briefed?
Don't even think it.
Oh, sorry.
Briefed means everyone knows what they are doing. It means they have clearly defined roles, which is what the next letter, R, stands for.
Well, I am just the pilot, so all I have to do is fly the plane. That isn't so hard.
Actually, there is a little more to it. Roles means identifying who is in charge of what. Which parts of security is each person in charge of? Even as a pilot, your role just not stop there. You can be a security asset during the entire operation by looking for hazards on the ground. The third goal of roles is to make sure everyone reports any hazards they identify. It does not depend on their role.
So, even though I am a pilot, have a security role as well?
Yes. There needs to be a decision maker. A central point of contact and communications. And everyone, pilots, cabin crew and passengers need to know their role to identify hazards and report them. Which brings me to I. I stands for Intel, and its components are the 3 I's.
3 I's. But I only have 2.
Don't worry, it's just an acronym and simple mnemonic. The first I stands for Intel from the government. This is information that the government publishes and updates regularly. One source is the Department of State Travel Advisories. Another place for information is the CIA World Factbook. It contains relevant information about all parts of the world. The next I stands for Intel from other entities. This could be from local security firms, or information on SOPs and regulations. The third I stands for Intel that you gather. This is real-time information you observe about the situation. It is important to be observant so that in the event of an emergency you know what safe strategies you can apply. The last letter stands for communication. It is important that all of the information that is gathered is shared with everyone on the job so that everyone is aware of threats or security flaws. Having gathered the information, we review it to identify hazards and threats.
Wow. All of this information is so important. What if my group observes that there are security flaws?
The important thing is that all team members observe and report to the security lead of your crew. If you are the captain, that would likely be you. You should observe, report and analyze the risk. Next, determine if the security in place is adequate to contain the risk. That brings us to F, which stands for fences, gates, and barriers surrounding your operation.
Fences, gates and barriers, oh my.
Are you going to be like this all day? This component means any physical barriers, such as walls and doors. But it can include guards, distance and even visibility. It is also helpful to break down this analysis into 3 phases of the operation. The first phase is departure and in-flight. The second phase is arrival at the destination. The third and most overlooked phase is the time spent at the destination. First, let's look at what to focus on during the departure stage. When you arrive at the airport and are getting ready to depart, be sure to note your security by observing access points. You should also be aware of other security concerns. Look for signs of tampering with the aircraft and take note. Does anything look different from how you left it? In flight, there is still no time to relax. You must be aware of flight hazards.
Like MH17.
Exactly. Also, during all of this, be sure to watch out for potential incursions. During arrival, it is important to look for the same security weaknesses as during departure. But you can't personally monitor that. That is why it is helpful to have groups stationed on the ground before you arrive to monitor activities. It is also important to have an on-site security monitor at the destination already. They can relay any security concerns and advice during emergency situations. Remember to refer back to the 3 I's to determine threats on arrival. When you are at the hotel, it may actually be the most dangerous portion of the trip. Make sure that all people involved have IDs so that unauthorized people cannot interfere. Security should exist in the hotel as well. It is best to stay on floors 3 through 5, away from the main vehicle entrance if you can. Always check for emergency exits, including stairways and non-elevator ways of escape. Also make sure you brief everyone. Do they all know how to get to the predetermined rendezvous point in case you have to evacuate?
Wow, that is a lot of information to take in. Sounds like it is important to trust the people you're operating around. How can I trust them?
The next I in PRIFISE stands for identification of friend or foe. It can essentially be broken down into who can get around the plane and who can get on it.
So how do I do that?
One of the easiest ways to ID people is with badges. You can easily determine where people should and shouldn't be.
Sounds like that requires a lot of trust in the companies that hand out badges.
That's right. That is why it is important that the companies you hire give clearances only after individuals are determined to be trustworthy. It is also helpful to know them personally.
What if someone is authorized but they are a security threat?
Then we move on to S, which stands for search or screen.
But I can't search everyone. Plus it would be invasive.
Maybe you cannot search everyone, but you can do preliminary screening just by looking. Does your company have a dangerous goods policy? Do your passengers know it? Do you have published rules about weapons? And finally, does what the passenger is carrying on make sense?
That sounds like it could be difficult. But it is necessary to ensure a secure flight. Thank you for the information. Now that I have everything, I am ready to go.
Hold on there a second, you forgot the last letter, E, and it is just as important as all of the others.
E? What could I be missing from my plan?
E stands for emergency response. This means the plan when the situation goes wrong. Developing a good emergency response plan means creating SOPs for common emergencies. But you must also be careful and realize that emergencies can vary greatly. It is also important to make your crew and passengers aware of an emergency and direct them on what they need to do. The last critical component of an emergency response plan is having emergency communication devices and contacts. You can even make another PRIFISE specific to the emergency.
Wow, that is very helpful. Good thing I didn't leave too soon. Although I feel like this is a lot of information to be learning for just one flight.
That is what is so great about PRIFISE. It can be used to make a plan for one flight, or it can be used to develop a security program for a company. But remember that it all hinges on each component being communicated well.
But I can't remember all that.
It's okay, you just need to remember one thing, PRIFISE.
Oh yeah. PRIFISE. I can remember that.
Oh, are you two finally ready?
Sorry, ma'am. It took us a second, but we are all set now.
Well, come on, let's go. We haven't got all day. Also, there is an app for PRIFISE, so if you ever forget it, you can look it up.
Wow, that is great. Thank you.
Well, we have a plane to fly, see you later. And good luck tonight.